Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we learned about how to handle code reusability. Yeah? Right, we learned about how we can reuse the code extensibility and reusability. Reusability, extensibility, and reusability we can achieve by using two techniques. What are those? Aggregation, another one is inheritance. What is difference? What is difference between aggregation and inheritance? In aggregation, in inheritance, what is the difference? Inheritance access the members of one class in another class by configuring relation between classes. Inheritance configures relationship between classes. Aggregation will allow to access without configuring any relation. Classes don't have relation, but the members of one class are accessible in another. How? By using an object. Using object. Inheritance, it configures relation. So it is. So what is aggregation? Without configuring relation between classes. So inheritance configures relation between classes. That is the point. So aggregation uses an object and inheritance uses the super keyword. One more rule we learned about inheritance. What is that rule? Inheritance rule. What is it? The derived class constructor must have a super call. That is the inheritance rule. What does that means? The derived class constructor must call the superclass constructor. That is mandatory rule for inheritance. So now one more option is we have polymorphism. We have another concept, polymorphism. Actually, polymorphism is nothing but generally polymorphism. Usually poly means many, and morphos means forms. So polymorphism means the ability of a component to work for various situations. That is actually called as polymorphism. The ability of a component to work for various situations. Generally, for every situation, we can have a different component. For every situation, we can have a different component. But creating one component which can handle all situations, that is actually polymorphism. That is nothing but, in general, I will tell you here, actually, In general, what happens is, suppose we have some devices, like suppose we have a device like uh, pager. Pager is a device. We have a device like digital organizer, and we have a device like camera, and we have phone. We have four different devices. Actually, pager is a device. Usually it is used for sending SMS. So before we have mobiles, we used to have pagers. In pagers, we cannot call. We can send only SMS to anybody. Usually, pager look like this. You see a pager look like this. This is a pager. That's how a pager looks like actually. This is how the pagers look like. We used to send messages by using these pagers. That is a pager device. It is only for sending messages. We have digital organizer. It is used for contacts. It is used for calendar. It is used for calculator. It is used for appointments, notes, all these. We can do all these by using digital organizer. Actually, we used to have a digital diary. Digital organizer is nothing but a digital diary. It looks like this. We used to call them as digital diaries. Digital diary. In the digital diary, we can store contacts. We can store different notes. We can store appointments. We have calendar, calculator, alarms. All such things are possible in this organizer. And we have camera. This is for photos and videos. We have phone. This is for call. Now, actually, we have a device called mobile. We have a device called mobile. This mobile can work as a pager. It can work as an organizer. It can work as a camera, and it can work as a phone. That means one device can do all these things. That means this mobile is exhibiting polymorphism. Polymorphos. Polymorphos means it can work for different situations, different purpose. Earlier, for every purpose, we used to have separate device. But now we have one device which can do all. That means now you don't need to carry a pager and an organizer and a camera. All three are present in one mobile. So software programming, for 3 or 4 different purpose, we have 3 or 4 different classes or 3 or 4 different objects. But if one object can do all the 3, 4 different tasks, that means then it is called polymorphism. Polymorphism is very simple. Design one component which can work for several people, which can work for different situations. That is polymorphism is, right? For example, I will show you now. That means ability of a component to work for various situations. Let's see how that is possible actually. So usually how the polymorphism works. Here we have a simple one, right? In this application, so now we are creating a class called, we are defining a class called employee. Suppose employee is a class. In this employee class, we are having some first name and the last name and designation. And we have a print. Print is going to print document dot write. It is going to print this dot first name. And it is going to print this dot last name. And it is going to print this dot designation. So this is what it is going to print. Okay. Now this is employee, and employee have 4 members. Now we are creating a class developer. Developer extends employee. That means all the members of employee are accessible here. The first name we are giving as some Raj. Last name I given as some Kumar. And here designation I given as developer. And extra we are giving role. Role as developer role is developer role. So is build, debug, test, like this. And we have a print. Here to print first name, last name, designation, we have super dot print. Already we know how to access superclass members. And we have document dot write extra. We will print this dot role also. That is additional one. Now we have another class. We have another class, and this class is admin. Admin also derived from employee. It is not derived from developer. It is derived from employee. And we have first name, some name. So last name, some name, designation, admin. And here I given admin role. Admin role, some I given as some authorizations, like this. Now we have another class, and this is another one is, suppose we have manager. Manager is also employee. Some name. So here we are writing some name, and designation is manager. And I defined some manager role. Manager role is some approvals, something like this. Now, how many employees are there? 3 employees are there. Who are those? Developer, admin, and manager. What is employee then? 3 employees are there. What is employee? Employee is a blueprint for creating all employees. All the employees are created by deriving the type. What is the type? Employee. By deriving the type employee. So every employee is of type employee. Now, total number of employees are 3. The blueprint for all employees is employee. Are all employees similar? So some may have roles, some may not have roles, some may have extra something. Now, how to access all these three employees? Generally, to access all the three employees, I need three objects. But now I need only one object which can work for all three. Then tell me for which class I have to create an object. I want only one object which can work for all three classes. Now, for which class I have to create an object? If I create for employee, only employee will come. It is just used as a blueprint. It is not multi-level inheritance. That means if you create an object for manager, only manager will come. Admin will not come, because is manager extending admin? Manager is not extending admin. Then and anybody says I know polymorphism in OOP, he must have an answer for this. Point understood na? Three different classes, one common blueprint for them that is used only as blueprint, right? Now we need only one object which can work for three classes. Generally, we have to create three classes. Creating three classes for three different situations is lengthy. Now, if you can create one class which can work for all three situations, then it is polymorphism. So let's do that. How it is possible? How you can create one object which can work for three classes? So I am creating like this. LET, where LET anything, employee is equal to new array. In first memory, we will allocate developer memory. In the second memory, we will allocate admin memory. In the third memory, we will allocate manager memory. Now, how many objects are there? Only one object. But it is working for three classes. At 0, it works as developer. At 1, it works as admin. At 2, it works as manager. That means you are overloading the memory of an object with three classes, which is possible. Every OOP technology supports this. We can overload the memory. Now, what is point is, now object is only one, but work for three situations. I will do one simple here. So where designation is equal to prompt, enter designation. We will ask them to enter designation. After that, we have to use a simple for, because employee is an array, for where is I will give yes, because plural, many na, yes. For where employee of what is the collection? Employees. We are reading every employee from employees. If employee dot designation is matching with the designation we entered, then only that employee print method should work. That is the simple logic. Then what happens? Only one object, it can work for three employees. Here Employee is an object which is working for 3 employees in that class. Now you see here when I run this, so it will be asking designation. It asks enter designation. I entered designation as manager. Only manager details will come. I am entering designation as admin. Only admin details will come. I am entering the designation developer. Only developer details will come. That means object is only one, but working for 3 different classes. So manager working for 3 different classes. So this is basically how polymorphism works. Generally, many times people who are learning Java, .NET, C++, their polymorphism has so many things. Function overloading, method overloading, people call them as. But here we have only one concept. Because here we don't have other facilities. JavaScript doesn't have anything else. So polymorphism means you can create one object which can work for different purpose. That means it is exhibiting polymorphism. Poly, many, morphos, forms, many forms. So actually how people define is, they define like this. A single base class object can use the memory of multiple derived classes, which refers to polymorphism. That's what actually polymorphism is. A single base class object can use the memory of multiple derived classes. So this is example for that. So example is this one. That is example. So these are only the options we have in OOPS of JavaScript. Generally, OOP means so many features are there. But in JavaScript, we don't have others. Generally, OOP means abstract classes, sealed classes, so many will be there. Interfaces. But JavaScript have only these 3 things. You should know about module, you should know about classes, and you should know about extending classes and polymorphism. These are only the basic things which the OOP concept of JavaScript provides. Class members means constructors, methods, accessors. Another option is property. These are the concepts inside a class, right? So general OOP concepts are different. In JavaScript, OOP features are limited. They have only these features we are having. Next, after understanding these, so you need to know another important point now is we have to understand about browser events. We need to know about browser events. JavaScript browser events. Already we used some events regularly. What are the events that we learned already? On click, on change, on blur, on key up. In various occasions, we used key up also now. So some events we regularly use. but some technical points we should know. Means more detailed technical points about event is actually generally event is a message sent by sender to its subscriber in order to notify the change. Event is a message sent by sender to its subscriber in order to notify the change. That is the official definition of event. So actually, event uses a software design pattern called observer. Event uses a software design pattern called observer. It uses a software design pattern called observer. In software technologies, we have a software design pattern called observer, actually, which is a communication pattern. Which is a communication pattern. So event uses a software design pattern which is called observer. Actually, event means sender sends a notification to subscriber. For example, you see here, suppose we are having like function name is insert click. And here we are having button on click is equal to insert click. Like this we are having. Usually what generally people think is there is a function called insert click and we are calling the function. So event is not calling the function, event is pointing towards function. Pointing towards function means we are not calling the function here. We are not calling the function here. We are pointing towards the function. That means when user clicks, then it will fire up. It will point towards the function. You are not calling functions. You are pointing towards the function. This is called function pointer actually. That means actually this is called subscriber. We call this as subscriber and this is called sender. We call this as sender. That means a subscriber contains the actions to perform. What actions to perform? It is present in subscriber. When it should be performed, that is sent, that notification is sent by sender. Sender sends a notification to whom? Subscriber. And subscriber will do the functionality. It is going to do the functionality. So subscriber defines actions to perform. And the sender notifies to subscriber. Sender notifies to subscriber. Notifies to subscriber and tells the subscriber when to do that option. Right? Actually, what sender can do is it triggers a notification. It triggers a notification. So generally, function is pointed from the sender. That means we are not calling the function, we are pointing towards the function. Actually, event follows delegate mechanism. Delegate mechanism. Delegate means function pointer mechanism. So we are not calling the functions, we are pointing towards the function. That is actually delegate mechanism. We call it as delegate. Delegate means in software programming, function pointers. We call them as function pointer. For example, here, see here, in this generally, suppose we have a document, and in this document here, we are having a document. In this document, there is a script, and we have a button and insert. On click is equal to insert click. Is there any function by name insert click? There is no function by name insert click. We don't have any function by name insert click. Now, when I run this, if there is no function by that name, it should show me error. I will go to inspect. In the console, you can see in the console, there is no error. If there is no function by that name and you are calling that function, it should show error. It is not showing error. Why? Because we are not calling, we are pointing towards. That means when I click this button, now it will try to find that function and it is unable to find. Then it will show error saying that on click, this is not there. That means it is not calling the function, it is pointing towards the function. So there must be a function with the same name. So what will happen now? It will point towards that function. It is not calling the function. It is not calling the function. It is pointing towards the function. That is why we call function pointer. And here this is called subscriber. Subscriber contains the actions to perform. When these actions will perform, that will be notified by sender. Sender means this is called sender. We call this as sender. Sender sends a notification to subscriber. When the notification will go when user clicks that button. And in that, remember here, this is called event. We call it as event. On click is event. On click, what it is doing? It is performing a functionality called insert click. This is called as event handler. We call event handler. Event and event handler. Event means what is the activity, means when it will perform. That is event. When it will perform on click. What it will perform? That is event handler. That means when you click, it will perform a functionality called insert click. So we have two parts in that. We have event and we have a event handler. If anybody asks what is the event, you should talk about only click. If anybody asks what is the event handler, that means you have to tell what is the event and what is the function. Event handler refers to the event as well as function. Event refers to only the event, right? So here two parts are present here. In this we have two parts. So on click is, this is actually event. On click, insert click, this is called event handler. We have event and we have event handler. That is how the activities are performed. So now important is actually you don't need a event handler every time. That means without event handler, you can define a functionality. You can write a functionality. Actually, event handler example is this. I will give an example here. What is that example is some button click, right? On click, alert. I will keep an alert, say insert clicked. That is the message. This is the event handler. Means what activity and how it will perform. So this is the example. I click on that, it will perform that insert click. Without the event handler, we can write events. How we write events without event handler is, there is another mechanism we call as event listener. We have an event listeners. Without event handler, we can use event listener. Actually, see here. So this is event. This is the event handler. That means in the design, you are writing some logic. In the design, when you are writing logic, design, logic, everything is mixed. We want design cleanly separated with only design and logic cleanly separated. Then instead of this, actually, we can define, this is the button. For this button, we can write an event. How we can write an event? So how to access this button? If it is having an ID, we can access it. Otherwise, document dot what? Query selector, what it is? Button. We are accessing the button. To that button, we can add event listener. To the button, we can add an event listener. Actually, event listener, you can see it is configuring type of key of element event map. Element event map is nothing but this is event listener is a map, means you know map is an iterator. Na? It is an iterator. Usually what happens is, so here we define another technique is there. We have like function. That means in that function, that means you can directly pass arguments, or there is another option is function. What is the function? It is asking type. What is the event type? Event type. Event type is nothing but, what is the event type? Event type is, I want the event type, and see the event type, it is expecting string. That means click. That is the event type. And what is the functionality it should perform? We can add the functionalities. That means you can write the event listeners in several ways. But this is a different scenario. Next level, I will explain. So event handler different, event listener. Generally, why we use event listener, later I will tell you that event listeners, because event listeners usually used when any element is dynamically created. Suppose you created a button dynamically. We already created, na? You remembered we designed add to cart button. Right? Add to cart button was dynamically created. A card was dynamically created. If any element is dynamically created, then how you write events for them? That is done by using which mechanism? Event listeners. Actually here, event handler, later scenario I will explain. Right? So actually see here, suppose I given a container div, and div have an ID as container. Now what we will do, we will write a onload. Onload is body load. On body load, what we are doing here, on body load, we are writing a function body load. We will create one button where insert btn insert something. Btn insert is equal to document dot what, create element, create element, create element, create element. So what is that element? Which element we want to create? Button. Now, so for that button inner HTML, because it is a HTML5 button, inner HTML I given as insert. Now for this button should be added document dot query selector or document dot get element by ID. What it is? Container dot what? Append child. So into that we are adding btn insert. That is added. Now you can see when body loads, that insert button is ready. Then how you write event for this? On this button click, some functionality should happen. It is not physically available now. Then we don't have event handlers now. That means event handler, if button is already there in the design. If a button is dynamically created, how you will write event for this? That means now what we do before adding the button, we have to access btn dot what? Add event listener. Add event listener, actually it is so defining type. So that means event listener type. So what is the listener type you are having? The type is what? Click. On the click, what is the functionality it should perform? That means we configure a functionality. And what is the functionality is alert. It should display some insert clicked. Like this we are configuring. That means now what we are doing here. So on insert clicked functionality we are writing. Every time we don't have event handlers. So then we use event listener. Why it is called listener? Because event is a definition I told you, event is a message sent by sender to the subscriber. Subscriber is listening. Subscriber is listening. You notify the subscriber, it will do the functionality. So subscriber, suppose you see we have server. When we have server, generally on server, our website is working. Generally what we do, right click on the page and open with live server. Then what happens? Server starts. After starting server, generally what people say, server started and server is running. Server is not running, server is listening. That means there is no word called run. Server is listening. Listening means you make a request, it will respond. Server works with the mechanism called request and response. If it is running, it cannot listen to your request. Server is not running. Server is what? Listening. Events also listening. You tell that click happened, it will listen to that and it will perform a functionality. That is why these are called event listeners. That means it listen to the event called click and it will perform the functionality. You can add different events for this. Why we need event listeners? Generally, every time we don't need event listener, but this mechanism is followed in future everywhere. Angular, React, all these people use this kind of mechanism in the background. When dynamically, if any element is created in JavaScript also, we have to do that. What is advantage now? The advantage is your design is very much clean. That means in the design, there is no logic. Design, only design. All the logic is in one place. For example, we have another button here. So we have another button called delete. That means we have two buttons, delete button, insert button. Insert is dynamically added. Now what happens? So this button, we have to write, suppose ID is equal to btn delete. Now we have to write event for that. Generally, how do we write the event here? So we are writing like this, document dot, suppose what, get element by ID. What is that? btn delete. It should have an add event listener. What is the event? We have to use click event. And what is the function? We can use an arrow technique for that. And I will put an alert. Suppose we have deleted, like this message we are giving. But here, see now, we have two buttons. Now you have an error. Why you have error is cannot read properties of null. That means this delete is not working. This insert is working. Why delete is not working? Because you are trying to access this button and write an event. Where and when? When you have to attach this event. For example, I am writing this. I am writing this in the body load. This is body load. In the body load, I am writing that event. In the body load, I am writing that event. So now you click here. When you define delete, then it will perform. That means there must be one event to mention at what time the event should be attached. Event should be attached to that button at the time of loading. Then it will perform. That base event is compulsory. That means you can configure in this way. So many times people ask when we should use event listener and when we should use event handler. So situation wise, if any element is dynamically created and it needs a functionality, then we have to use event listeners. Actually, without event listener also we created. You remembered I created add to cart button. When we created add to cart button, what we done? In the logic itself, we created button on click like that. But actually what we do, first we create a button, attach event to that button and load that events, right? So here we have another mechanism, add event listener. So another point is, instead of having, so this is the function we are having. Instead of having, yeah, you can define event listener instead of event handler. Event listener instead of event handler for elements that are dynamically added to page. So this is the example for that. So a syntax I will give here, element dot add event listener here event name and a callback function. So what is the event and how do we configure the event? So event handler and event listener. Let's take this as an example. I will copy this. That is the example how we can define. So when to use event handlers? When already the design in design mode elements are available, then we write event handlers. If elements are dynamically created, then for them we add events dynamically. This is one important point. So adding events and configuring the events. Next important, after understanding the concept of browser events, what is the basic point? Now you should know another concept, that is every event have two default arguments. Every event have two default arguments. Every event have two default arguments. One is this, another one is event. That means whenever you are writing something like button, on click is equal to some insert click. Into that we can pass two arguments, that is this and event. Two default arguments are present. One is this, another one is event. It's can be without arguments. It can be one argument. It can be two arguments. It can be any one, first event, second this, doesn't matter. That means these two are arguments, default arguments. What is the purpose of these two arguments is, actually, what is the purpose is, this contains information about current element, which is sent to, it contains information about current element which is sent to function, Information about current element means information about current element. Current element is what? Button. Button related information means what? ID, name, class name, or width, height. These details are called as what? Element related details. We have like value. It depends on element. Suppose it is image, it will have a src. So if it is table attributes. If it is a div attributes. So element related information you can send by using this. This is used to send information about element. And what is event? Event contains information about current event which is sent to function. Current event related details means like client X, client Y, key code, character code, shift key, control key. So like that we have so many. That is event related details. Actually, every event has some details. For example, click means click has so many points. It is not just like click, because when you click on any element, it also matters where you clicked. That means you clicked within this scope, you clicked outside the scope. For example, you have seen in Bootstrap model. Have you observed? In Bootstrap, we have a model. In Bootstrap model, what happens? A pop-up will come. How to close the pop-up? We have a close button. Or do you know, you click outside the pop-up, it will close. How it knows you click outside? That means you click outside that pop-up will close. How you knows that you haven't clicked inside, you clicked outside? That means click means not just click. It also knows where you click. Along x-axis, y-axis, at which position you click. Everything can be handled, and everything is important also. For example, you see sometimes here, suppose I am writing http://www.amazon.in. Like this, I am writing. Now, when I move the mouse onto it, it will say control plus click to follow. I thought click means only click. No, it is saying that if you click with control key, then it can open that website. In a separate browser, it will open that website. How it knows that you used control key or not? While clicking, whether you used control key or not, how it knows? That is done by this event object. Event sends information about the event. That means control key used or not, shift key used or not, alt key used or not, in which x-axis position they click. All this information we can send by using event. So for example, see now here, suppose we are having a button. So here we are having a button. Suppose button have like click me. Okay. Now here what we will do is we will write on click. On click is click me. Okay, we are writing a script and we have a function click me, something like this. Now what we are doing is into this, for this button we are having ID as btn demo, name as value as click me, and this have a class name. Class is like btn primary. Like this we are having. Now this is actually some values. Okay, into that event now I am passing here this. This is going to send all details about current element. Then we have to collect and store them. So what is the reference for this is I will create an obj. That you know, this is formal parameter and this is actual parameter, right? Now all the object related details are present here. Object related details means button related details. You see now, document dot write. I am giving here, suppose I want to print button ID. How we can get that? By using obj.id. In the next line, I want button value. So here I am using obj.what value. After that, I am adding class name. And I am using here obj.what class name. And another one we are defining here. Suppose this is enough, only these details are there. Yeah. Now you can see here, when I click on that button, it can get those details: button ID, button value, button related details. So every event have two arguments. One argument is this, another argument is event. So let's add second argument. It is not necessary that you have to add both, anyone, but the words are important. Element related details are sent using this, and event related information is sent by using event. Then I need another parameter na. Informal parameter, another refers to E for event. You can give any name, right? Now here I am using X position. How to get X position? E dot client X. I am verifying control key used or not. How to verify? E dot CTRL key. Then you can see that when I click here at the right side corner, then it will say that 72. So, and control key is not used, false. Okay, let's hold down the control key and now click. Then it says that true, 48. So we can handle the situation here. That means actually, why to know the position? If you know the position, based on that also you can control. Sometimes you put a button on that, you put a sentence. In that you will say that click on only this word in the sentence, then it will fire up some result. That means suppose I want to write a logic like, if I click up to here, you see click, what is the position? 43 na? Okay, so and what is the last one? 43, and this is last one, what is it? 67. That means what I will do is, here we will write a condition. So if I am writing a condition, if, so what is that if condition? If e dot client x is greater than or equal to how much? 45. 45. And e dot client y is less than or equal to how much? 72. Then document dot write. So you clicked on me. I will just put that option. You clicked on me, right? Otherwise, so document dot write, I will put a message. You clicked on click, like this. You clicked on click word. That is the message I am giving. Click word. Okay. And you clicked on here what? Me word. Like this I am giving. And see here. So I click on this me word. Then it says you clicked on me word. That means I clicked on this word and it says you clicked on click word. Where you clicked also it matters, because that is what generally you see several websites. They give a map, and on the map they will give you some names. They will say that you click on this city in the map, that city information will come. Right? Their positions are important. X-axis, Y-axis positions where you kept based on that. Lot of interactions can be managed. So we have two arguments. One is this, another one is event. Actually, this is an example. Generally, you can have only one argument, you can have both arguments, or you can directly send what you want. For example, I want to send into this, I want to send only button ID. Then on click, what you can do is you can just send this dot id like this. We can do that, means it is sending only one value. That means now what is this obj? It is not obj, actually it is id. It is id. Now we write here document dot write. So button, here we are defining button id. Button id is equal to whatever the id. This time we are not sending all object details, only one detail. And you can see it can send that id and show. That means if you want, you can send only few details what you want. Suppose I want to send the id, comma, I want to send a value like this. That means now two parameters are expected. Na? Two parameters are expected, id and val. And here I am saying button id, and in the next line, so button value is equal to whatever val is there. That means this time we are sending two details about the button. You can send all details just by using this. You can send specific details. You can send multiple details. That means related to this or related to event. Related to event. This is another example, and very important is actually, so you can send custom arguments. You can send custom arguments. So using event handler, you can send custom arguments using event handler. We can send custom arguments using event handler. So your own arguments you can send. You can send your own arguments using event handler. Right? So along with default arguments, your arguments, or you can send only your arguments. You can send anything. For example, you see, suppose I'm giving here, yeah, in this function, I'm just adding, I'm adding here, let's go to the click me. Okay. Here I'm just using a string. So hello from button, something like this. You are sending a string. And just what we have to do here, we have to access the string. And we should display document.write str. That's it. That means when you click the button, that string is sent. You can send any number of arguments. We learned already spread. We learned already the syntax of rest. Right? We can send any. Suppose you see this is string, comma, and we are sending an array. So we are sending array. Suppose we have Delhi. So we have HYD like this. We are sending an object. This contains rate. So 4.3. So it contains count, some 4,000 like this. That means now here I am expecting a string. After that, I am expecting cities. I am expecting rating. That means now what we are doing, we want to print those details. So document.write, we are printing those details. Just I am using what first one. First one is nothing but str. After that break. Then second is cities dot to string, because it is an array. And after that we want rating. So and rating dot rate, and we have like rating dot count. We can access that, and you can see this is going to access those details and display. We can send custom arguments. Any number of arguments you can send. We can use rest. You can use spread syntax. So event arguments along with default. Along with the default means here. So after this, you given this After that, you given this. That means comma this. That means what is the last parameter? The last parameter is related to button. Obijena object related to button. That means here what we will do. So we will say button ID, button name, class name. Suppose I am giving button dot what? Class name. We want to return the button class name. And you click, it will get that and display. You can send custom arguments, default arguments, custom arguments with default arguments, anything. Any kind of argument you can send. So every event comprises of event arguments. These are all the event arguments. We have different types of event arguments having. Right? I hope you are clear, right? So event handler, event arguments, event listeners, right? So actually, so we return event listener now. Event listener. In that, how we pass arguments. For example, suppose we are having a button. Button is insert. So ID is btn insert. Like this we are having. Now we are having a function. So on load is what? Body load. On body load, we are writing the function body load. On body load, how we are defining document get element by ID, btn insert dot add event listener. It uses the event click and it uses a callback function. This is the callback function. Now into this callback function, so this is the callback function. I am passing, suppose this. I am passing like, so event like this we are adding. Here, observe carefully now. I will put document dot write. What it is using, this is there already. So that means we are accessing this and event. That means I am giving, so here, suppose this dot ID. That means we are trying to access the ID. It is not available. So here we are writing the function body load and it is doing that particular functionality. But it is not possible. Actually, this event function is having, suppose E refers to what? Event. I'm just using here now. That means I'm just adding here. So E. So I'm configuring E. E dot which option we are having? Client X. Client X. Now you click on that. Then it will get. That means it is having only one event argument. Then how to access object related details? This is not allowed. How do you access object related details? Actually, we have an option. So E dot, we have a target dot ID. E dot target dot ID, which is going to get that ID. That means here one important point is, so event listener do not have this as argument. So it provides only event as argument. It provides only event as argument. It doesn't have this as argument. It provides only event as argument. Then what happens? Then how you can access? So in event listener, event can send details of both element and event. It can send details of both element and event. How it will send? E dot client X. I will write better syntax here. What it is? we have a element dot add event listener. So in that we have a click event. We have a callback function which uses E. And here what we can do, E dot client X. So we have E dot CTRL key like this. Object related details we access by using target. E dot target dot ID. We have E dot target dot class name like this. We can access like this. That means here what is the point? Target. Target is used. Target is used for accessing details of element. Target is used to access the details of element. So this is E dot target we have to define. Anywhere event listeners will not provide this keyword. Event listeners will provide only event. So in future, jQuery, Angular, React, you will not have this keyword. There everywhere you will have only one keyword. What is that? Event. And that event will send both details, event related details as well as object related details. And event related details directly you can access. Object related details we can access with reference of target. With reference of target we can access. So here there is no possibility of custom arguments. There is no possibility of custom arguments because it will support only one default argument. Only one default argument. And what is that one default argument? One default argument is event. So this is example for event listener. So when you are dealing with event listener, this is how we need to configure. Add event listener. And we have one argument. And that argument sends information about both event as well as object. So event listeners and event related arguments. Okay. Now, once you know this, now we need to understand about various browser events. Browser events. Actually, browser events are classified into various types. We have mouse events, we have keyboard events, we have button events, we have clipboard events, we have form events, we have timer events, we have element state events, we have touch events, etc. All these are different categories. So events are categorized into so many. We have mouse, we have keyboard, we have button, we have all different types of events. Now, for example, if I ask like, so what is the event for button? What is the event for button? Events are not related to any element. Events are not related to any element. Events are related to browser. Events are related to browser. They are not related to any element. They are related to the browser. That means button can use any event. Button can use mouse events. Button can use button events. It can use any event. It's not like button have to use only this event. Events are not related to elements. Events are related to browser. We will attach those browser events to various browser events are attached to them. So now we will see some examples using this. Already majority we learned some of them, because mouse event means mouse over, mouse down, like that. Key up, key down is keyboard. Button means on click, double click, right click shortcuts we have. Clipboard means cut, copy, paste. Form means on, submit, on, reset will be there. Timer already we learned. Set timeout, clear timeout, intervals. We learned already in date time concept. Element statements on change, on blur, on focus, on select. This comes under element state. Touch events, these are only for touch screens. These are recently used by people who are developing applications for mobile. They don't work on all devices, they work on only touch. Right now we will see some examples using them in tomorrow's session. Okay, tomorrow we will see examples with all these events. Then we can finish the concept of events. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue.